The Brooklyn Bridge connects the island of Manhattan with New York City's most populated borough, the city of Brooklyn. The idea of joining the lands had been in mind long before Brooklyn ever became a city in 1838, but the East River made it difficult with its width and strong salty current. At the time of taking into consideration to build a bridge, the two areas were separate cities, and Brooklyn didn't join Manhattan as a New York City borough until 1898. In the early 1800s, Manhattan had around 18,000 residents, while Brooklyn had about half as many. By building a bridge, it would solve the overpopulating problem in Manhattan and at the time spur development in Brooklyn. It would also make it faster and easier to transport goods and supplies across the river by bridge rather than by ferry. In 1855, a German immigrant named John Roebling, a civil engineer and known bridge designer, was chosen to design a bridge that would cross the East River between Lower Manhattan and Brooklyn. He designed everything from the towers, steel cables, to all the materials that would be used. Due to a fatal accident in 1869, while determining where the Brooklyn Tower was to be located, his son Washington Roebling was put in his place to continue the construction process of the bridge. The bridge began construction in 1870 and opened in 1883.
The Brooklyn Bridge was very innovative for its time. When complete, the bridge was 50% longer than any other suspension bridge in existence. It was the first use of pneumatic cashings and steel cable suspensions. The bridge would exist as two main towers built on the cashings that utilized steel cables anchored to foundations on either side to suspend the roadway above the East River. The cables consist of 19 component cables that are wound together. The final cable is about 16 inches in diameter. The complete length needed in wire cables was approximately 3,600 miles. These cables could not simply be attached at either end of the river. They would need to be anchored to each side in such a way that the load of the entire bridge and commuters could be supported. Engineers designed 60,000-ton anchors to be buried in the foundation on each side. The anchors was roughly 130 feet long by 120 feet wide and existed at a height of 90 feet. The cables would anchor at these plates and run to the towers in the center of the expanse. The towers were built on cashings that were dropped into the river. When they finally hit the bottom, they were filled with concrete. The cashings exist at about 45 feet below high tide. Each cashings bared about 80,000 tons. At the launching of the cashings weighed 3,000 tons. Each cashing had three main shafts on the top. There were water shafts, men shafts, and supply shafts. As some men built the tower on the roof of the cashing, other men dug rocks and dirt from beneath the mast to sink it further into the bottom. As the tower height grew, the cashing sunk deeper from the extra weight. The sinking was imperative for optimum stability. Although much was gained in the building of this bridge, many people lost their lives in the numerous accidents that occurred during construction. The idea of building the Brooklyn Bridge was not to be seen as an ornament, but to be seen as a form from function. The bridge creates a stunning form because of the function it carries out. Making the bridge strict and suitable to its function made the order of the arcs dynamic. Adolf Bini once said, "Architecture is no more than a fixed, invisible structure of the final organization of every movement, every occupation, every purpose and use of the building." This is what the Brooklyn Bridge tried to contain.